The heart of the Joy Project is helping people get the fuck out of their own way. I used to be so negative, like proper glass half empty. I couldn't think of any reason other than I'm scared I might not be very good at this. One of my things is drop the rope. What are you holding on to so tightly of I can't, I'll never be able to, this will stop me. If you just let go of that, now it leaves you with potentially trying something, just seeing where it goes, experimenting. Life is just one big joy project. Things are going to go wrong, things are going to go right, the scope's going to change. We go looking for the book that will change your life, the podcast that's going to change your life. Something I'm probably known for is talking a lot about taking messy action. Little things, little changes, little improvements, it all builds up. Joy is the strategy, not the reward. If you can find joy even when you're going through the shittest things, I promise you, life will feel a lot brighter.
A quick thank you before we start. Many of you know I share my Gusto referral link on this podcast. And honestly, I didn't expect so many of you to use it. A bunch of you ended up with cheap groceries and I ended up with some free credit. So it's been a lovely little win-win all round. If you're new to the podcast, let me tell you about the deal. Gusto is a recipe box service that delivers proper ingredients to your door, alongside easy to follow recipe cards. I've used them for years and find them incredibly useful when life is a bit hectic. They provide you with all the food you need to cook delicious meals, and they now have hundreds of recipes available each week. You can find my referral link in the show notes, and if you're a new customer, you'll get a pretty hefty discount. Well, thank you very much for inviting me, not just to your home, but honouring your calendar. as I feel like I prepared for this a week ago, getting all the gear together. I've been up in the Lake District, cycling around, not coming up here just for this, but hoping that I could also do one as well. But that kind of burning feeling of like, oh, Friday afternoon, someone might just say, you know what, Tom, busy week, haven't got time.
And I didn't tell you to sod off. I was like, nah, let's do it. I'm well excited. I try and take Fridays off when I can, to be fair. So this feels like a nice non-work thing to do.
I've been leaning into that recently as well.
Yeah, I tried to do it years ago, kind of when I first became self-employed. I was like, what would be awesome? And I was like, Fridays are just like I call them a chaos day. So either it comes to Friday and it's my day to like get a lot of shit done, or if I'm caught up, I'm like, I just gave myself a day off. So yeah.
I think what helped me reframe Fridays is having therapy booked in at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And having an hour session and then coming out of that and being like,
I'm not getting anything else done today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. We are here in Keswick.
Yes.
In the Lake District.
Yep.
A beautiful town.
Yep.
Surrounded by incredible views, many of which I've seen this week. You have moved your whole life here over the years. Let's start with here and why.
Yeah.
Why the Lake District? What brought you here?
It's so funny. Like, even you talking about Keswick, I'm still like, I know, isn't it lovely? Like, I've been here nearly 4 years now, maybe 3 or 4 years. And it's still a novelty. And I kind of hope it will always be a novelty as well. But I guess the long story short, we always got brought up here as kids. We were like, we are a hiker family. And my parents said that was always going to be the plan. My parents were going to move up here. And they decided to it was like the back end of 2021. And I was actually living in South Wales and I was renovating a house, and I'd been in South Wales for like nearly 8 years by then. And the amount of times somebody said, what was it? What made you know, like, you're going to go? And I honestly can't put my finger on it. It just kind of came to me that is what I was going to do. And all my friends thought I was absolutely mad because I was technically, moving 6 hours away from where I'd been living for most of my 20s. June 2022, I know exactly when I moved up here because I went to Glastonbury, got COVID and moved out of my house and packed all my stuff and moved to the lakes pretty ill basically. But yeah, I got here June 2022, and I've just never looked back, and nowhere has ever felt like home the way the Lake District does.
Why is that? What is it about this place?
I'd say within the first 6 months of being here, there was just this like stillness. And I've lived in a few different cities, but there was something, I always say, if I ever go to like visit London or wherever, I always say the mountains are my skyscrapers kind of thing. But there's also, as much as, you know, the respect you need to have for the mountains is ridiculous, there's something I feel safe when I'm within the mountains. And I think I need the space as well. We recently got back from London, and I really enjoy going to the city, but I could just tell by maybe day 5 that I needed to get back to the lakes. So I think, yeah, maybe that's that feeling of really wanting to get back to somewhere. So I'll often say, if I go on holiday, you know, that feeling people have where the holiday's coming to an end. It's like, oh, I've got to go home. I don't get that. I'm like, yay, I get to go back to the Lake District. Like, this is amazing. So yeah, I've never been able to quite put my finger on what it is about this place, but it's not disappointed me yet, for sure. So,
and now that you're several years in, how is that experience now wrapped up? You know, because it's not all been good. But now you can sit back in hindsight and see the pathway that you've taken. What does that look like now?
That's such a good question. For me, it makes me think of the rolling hills, right? Of like, you get to the peak and you have to come back down again. But I always, if I've ever like, I don't know, in my coaching practice or whatever, I'll always say to people, like, it's not a mountain that we're climbing. It's a mountain range, really. So rather than like focusing on like getting to the top, it's about maybe stopping halfway up and looking out and stuff like that. And yeah, in the past couple of years when things haven't gone to plan, there was something about, okay, but I still live in the Lake District. I have my businesses. I've grown this really lovely community. I've got friends. My family are here. So the pathway, I guess, has been some things of maybe I thought were going to knock me off the pathway, but they didn't. I'm still here. And this is still one of the best decisions I ever made, to be honest, for sure.
You're talking a little bit about shifting your mindset, I suppose, and actually practicing gratefulness, taking stock of what you have and reminding yourself of it, because sometimes you can forget.
Yeah.
And I've just been up here in the week, just for a week camping, and I could have my own journey within this week with the weather that I've faced from cycling and getting drenched on the bike by having a very storm-proof tent, but it being very tested to the limits one of the nights.
The lakes will do that for you. You need to test your kit.
Yeah, and as soon as you know, camping stuff gets wet, it tests your character.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed people putting tents up in the rain at the campsite, and then that same tent flying across campsite, and then the next morning they disappear. Yeah. Whether or not they plan to stay longer, I'm not sure. They
booked a B&B for sure.
Probably. But I've stayed constant and sat with it. And I think there might have been a moment when I was thinking about, if I was to do this again, maybe next year, I could have checked the weather. If the weather's not in favour, go to a youth hostel or book a B&B, or do some house sitting. Anything like that gets me indoors. And I was like, but I'd be indoors. And the reason why I've chosen to camp is so that I wake up and I literally open my tent door to the view. I make a cup of coffee and I sit there and I relax. And then that was about me taking stock and being like, oh, of course, like this view that I've just got used to over the last 5 days is the reason why I'm here. And then as soon as I recognize that, just calmed
You're
me
back
down.
in the moment. Yeah, for sure. I think it reminds me of, you know, if you walk out my flat, you can see cat bells in the distance. And one of my favorite views in Keswick, so random, I take a picture of it all the time, is literally at the top of a road round the corner. And it's just the most, like, photography wise, it's just the most beautiful framing of like down the road, and you can usually see a hustle and bustle of people at the bottom of the road, usually lining up outside one of the fish and chip shops. And then you have the town, and then behind it, the mountains are just looming. And I've got pictures of that view in every single season, and it never, ever gets old. And as much as absolutely, I know people travel in every weekend to use the lakes and explore it, and I am aware of how fortunate I am to live here. There is something about actually being here and waking up here that is so precious to me. And people will say about tourism, oh, do the tourists not annoy you? And I've had this thought since I moved here. I will never, ever get mad at the tourism. One, because it's a huge earner for the national park, obviously, but also because those people have to go home at some point, either at the end of the weekend or the end of the week or whatever. I get to stay here. So yeah, there is I always say the novelty's never worn off, but I think you're right. It is just this absolute gratefulness. And where I grew up is literally the flattest place. I grew up in the Midlands. Like, it is the flattest. So I grew up in Tamworth in the Midlands.
Wolverhampton.
Right, okay.
Not too
so
far.
Then you know. And what's hilarious,
So far away from the sea as well.
literally, and this is what's so funny, you know, because I grew up in the Midlands, people are like, so you must know the Peak District well, or you must know North Wales well. And I'm like, no, my mum stayed on the M6 and we carried on coming up as far as you can before you hit Scotland. Like, it was always the lakes. It's always, as a family, it's just always been that precious place to us. So yeah, there is a gratefulness to be able to be like, I actually live here now. This is where I'm based. That's usually what I say. I'm Lake District based. And yeah, it just doesn't get old. It has not got old yet.
And the beauty of staying here is that you get to appreciate the moments of joy off season as well. You know, yes, I can talk about how some of the weather's not been on favour, but actually that's not the big part of the story this week. I've had moments where it's been phenomenal. Yeah. And I've ridden roads on my bike where there's just no cars at the moment because it's just a quiet time of the year. Yeah. And I've gone into towns where I went to the famous gingerbread place in Grasmere. Yeah, nice. No queue.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yes, like whoa. It was just before closing time, but I could see that that's the standard at this moment. We're mid-April at the moment, and the weather's not on form. But you know, some rain during the day does not mean it's rain all the day. And then the moments when the sun shines, which it did earlier when I arrived, everything just like feels great again. Yeah. Before we move off the Lake District, I just want to pay homage to places that I've seen close by. On my ride yesterday, I came down from I can't remember the name. Threlkeld.
Yeah.
Yes. Most beautiful community cafe there.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is in the Wild Guide actually, which I got with me, but I didn't check before. I just happened to come across it on my ride. So glad I stopped there. And then the ride from there to Keswick along the railway path. Stunning.
Yeah. Like that is a gorgeous Sunday 10K. Walk out, go to the cafe, have coffee, have cake. They have an incredible caramel millionaire shortbread, if I remember correctly. And then turn around and literally come back. And parts of that, I think you can see like different parts of like countryside, if you like, on different parts of that walk. There's parts of it where you go over some of the bridges where I've said to people like, it reminds me of being in Canada almost. Like, it's so beautiful. And I like the accessibility of things like that because I'm a huge hiker. I've been a hiker my entire life. Sometimes I just want to go for a walk. And that is a perfect spot. Especially if you're staying in Keswick as well. It is not a nice one. And you can, you know, if you've got little uns with you as well, you can go as far out as you want and then turn around and come back. It's also one of our park runs as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Saturday morning at 9 o'clock.
Where does it start?
So it starts in Keswick. It starts behind the gym. And then you go out to a certain distance and then they turn you around and you come back.
Nice
little 5K.
Good to know. Castlerig, stone circles.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. The view.
Yeah.
I've been to many stone circles, but this one, the view you get from being there is phenomenal. Apparently they were built for 5,300 years ago.
Yeah.
No, BC. So that's 7,000 years ago. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was standing there, one of the RAF jet planes flew by.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
And I was just thinking about the original builders of this stone circle. Could they have ever imagined a life where some guy has just cycled through and then this jet plane has just flown across? That would have been so far away from their vision of what the world could look like.
Yeah.
And it made me realise, okay, what would the world look like 7,000 years later?
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
No, and
it's mind blowing.
Interestingly, as you said that, that I have a worry comes up about the state of the Lake District in 7,000 years. But it does also make me think about, there are some absolutely stunning trees in the Lake District, obviously, and like gorgeous forests. And I do often, if I'm doing like a dog walk or what have you, I will sometimes, the biggest trees that you see, I don't know why this thought always comes to me of that tree was there long before I got here, and it's probably going to be here long after. And I mean, I could talk all day about obviously how certain people treat or don't treat the Lake District very well. But yeah, there's something in it about, it's not just nature up here. I feel like it's the history as well that we often take for granted, maybe. So, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, if you really think about it, the lakes, they've been here, eons. And we get to experience them in the here and now. But actually, they've been probably around, at the time when those stone circles were built.
Yeah. People
were enjoying the lakes in a different way, or just living in the lakes then. Crazy, mind blowing. I mean, we can go deep into that. Let's not. I suppose one of the big themes of the guests I get on this podcast is that they have, in some sense, gone on a change of path in their life, taken some adventurous step, whether that be crossing a continent or a change in path in life. Which I suppose is a big part of your story as well.
Yeah. So literally the exact same time that I made a massive move and moved me and the dog to the other end of the country, to the Lake District, I was also training to be a life coach.
What were you before? What was your life like looking before then?
So corporate. It was all corporate. I'm a journalism grad, so my degree's in journalism. I got to the end of my degree and knew pretty quickly that I wasn't going to make a very good journalist, because journalists have to be very impartial and I don't know, there was something that felt quite brutal about journalism that I'm quite empathetic and a bit of a softie, and I just thought, I don't know if I'm going to hack this. So I kind of fell into event management, actually. So I did that for a bit, and then I followed my mom into HR, and I was in internal comms for years and years and working on employee engagement and all those kind of things. And I, in one of those roles, had an incredible boss, like amazing boss, who really changed my way of thinking. And this always really surprises people, but I used to be so negative, like proper glass half empty, what if, anxious, just, really not okay with the world, always really on the lookout for danger, basically. And she was amazing. She really kind of changed the way I thought.
What exactly do you remember about her that helped change that?
So her name's Fiona, and we used to call her Fioda in our office, like just full of wisdom, but also she just listened. Just the most incredible active listener, you would call it. And I then found out that she was trained as a coach. So she did her corporate role. So she was head of organizational development at the company I was at. But she was a trained coach. And I was just fascinated by, I would watch her, I don't know, go into like a marketing department that all hate each other And within a couple of hours of a workshop, she'd just got them to come together. And it felt like witchcraft. And the questions that she'd ask, I'd just be like, oh my God, that's an amazing question. So I took an interest in coaching and facilitation and things like that. But I wasn't working anywhere that was willing to put me through the training, basically. So when I was selling up the house to move to the lakes, I did all right on the house, had this pot of money. I'd already found the coaching accreditation that I wanted to do, and was basically kind of like, give yourself, what is the reason you're not going to do this? And I couldn't think of any reason other than I'm scared I might not be very good at this. And my, I guess, statement straight back to myself when I thought of that was, are you doing this to be really good at it, to be perfect at it? Or are you doing it just because you're so interested in it? And I just thought, you know what, that's worthwhile paying for. So I trained to be a life coach and fell in love with it very, very quickly. Started an Instagram, really just to document the journey. Because as any good coach will tell you, the actual training, yes, you're training to coach other people, but the actual training, like, it's just mind blowing. Like, it changes you before you're then gonna, help other people.
Right, okay.
So that was my journey into creating or changing my mindset. And it's a bit of the rest is history, really. I've been doing it for 4 years now. And it's just gone from strength to strength, and self-employment really, really suits me as well. And I can kind of reflect back on when I was in corporate or when I was working for others where my ideas were just a bit too big, or we haven't got time for that right now, Meg, or kind of just got to stay in line. You got to play the game, that kind of thing. And being self-employed, I mean, I have 3 businesses now. Like, I do a range of different things for income, and it just suits me down to the ground. And I think if you'd gone back and told me 2020, 2019, what was going on now, I'd think you were talking about a different person. I wouldn't have been able to imagine it. So it's a lot to be said for journey, and I'll get on my soapbox about this now. I often find that we go looking for the book that will change your life, the podcast that's going to change your life, the holiday that's going to change your life, that one job. And, my whole ethos behind my business is small things, little things, little changes, little improvements, messy action. It all builds up. And that's kind of worked for me so far, and it seems to work for my clients as well.
Does that feed into your statement that joy isn't something you earn after you've fixed your life?
Yeah.
It's something you have to do in the background every day.
Yeah. Joy is the strategy, not the reward.
What do you mean by this?
You don't earn joy. It's not it's statements such as, well, once this has happened, well, next year I'll get that. Well, if I just do this, this will happen, and it keeps people in careers that they hate, relationships they're not happy in. For me, it was location. I stayed somewhere for a very long time that I really didn't enjoy living there at all. And I was almost waiting for something to happen, something to change, and then I can feel joy, then I'll be happy. And actually, when you apply it as your foundation or your strategy, which are probably 2 slightly different things, but work together quite nicely, it is, I guess, the main thing that I want people to understand is that if you can find joy, even when you're going through the shittest things, which I've definitely had experience of, even if you can find those moments of joy, I promise you, life will feel a lot brighter. And it's the end of the golden yellow brick road, right? You're on the sodding road now. What's going on now? Look around you, I don't know. I guess it's that thing of, could get hit by a bus tomorrow. What were you hoping, people say about 5-year plans. It's not me. I couldn't tell you what I'm doing next month, never mind in 5 years time. So yeah, it's, my business is called the Joy Project. The whole point of that is life is just one big joy project. The project only ends when you die, pretty much. So you're going to have all these milestones along the way. You're going to have people coming in and out of the project. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go right. The scope's going to change. I don't want to make it too project management, but that is a project or experiment, maybe might be a good word as well. But, I work with a lot of people looking for perfection, and it just does not exist. And if everything was perfect, if everyone was perfect, we would be the same person. There would be no such thing as diversity. And that feels a little boring, if I'm honest.
Yeah. You called it a project. What was the second phrase you used?
Like an experiment. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a wonderful way to look on your life. And I suppose I would call it, to a similar extent, an adventure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I've learned so many things from my tours and solo tours where shit hits the fan. You're out on your own. You got to get somewhere. What you do, well, you don't just sit on the grass and cry. You fix the problem.
Yeah.
And you learn that is part of the adventure, that actually my journey from A to B, let's say bike touring, is purely like the guideline of my life. But what actually happens is the problems that I come across is what actually makes the journey for me.
Yeah. And it's like you said A to B there, right? If you think about going on a bike tour, if A is literally pedal, set off, for me, it's actually Z is when you finish the bike tour. All of the stuff that happened in between, right? Whether it was good, bad, ugly, whatever, there will have been joyful moments in that as well. And I, often I've got friends who do races, and I know we were talking earlier about what makes you want to do a race over like a, treating something as a holiday or what have you. And I see that in people when they're thinking about starting a business or getting into a relationship or, I don't know, making new friends or whatever. This mentality creeps in of like head down, get to the finish. So I work with a lot of people that want to start their own business. I don't know why, but I've the last couple of years, it's just become something I'm really, really passionate about. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, I am talking to people that literally will say, I just don't know where to start because it feels so overwhelming to them. And then they'll tell me where they think they should start, which is like step 10. And I'm like, what's step 1? Like, have you just sat with a piece of paper and a pen and just, brain dumped or what have you? And I think the joyful part of that is where whatever it is you want to do in life, start a business, change your career, start a bloody podcast, whatever it is, I guarantee if you can focus on the joyful parts of it, whether it's deciding on the 10th bloody logo or buying your first mic or, having that conversation with your boss that you've been scared to have, whatever it is, if you can find the joy in that, life does get a bit lighter. It does get a little bit easier. Now, in the past, I've been told that's quite toxically positive, and I am not in any way, shape or form saying that shit doesn't happen, because I know it does. But I just kind of refuse to stay in the negative, because I did that for a very, very long time. And I think, your camping experience this week, the video of the couple trying to put up the tent, right? Maybe they're not feeling joy at that exact time, but you did. And that's a moment you're going to remember.
Sitting in my warm car.
Yeah.
When I could have gone out and helped them. To be fair, I did feel their joy, because I just felt it could have been a father and a son. And just clearly they were just getting on with it.
Yeah.
And you have to just admire that. Like, they didn't just be like, oh, fuck it, let's just leave it and get in the car and just mope. No. This is our shelter. Yeah. If we can fix this, 100%. Then it's probably...
Yeah. How many times, I went for a run with the dog this morning. It was pelting it down. It was awful. But, as I was kind of coming into the village, like, I'd like my, last 500 meters left. And I could feel it in my head, negativity bias, right? We all have it. It's very natural. I could feel it in my head. So I'm absolutely drenched through. I forgot to eat breakfast. I haven't got any water with me. Can feel the dog lagging behind. I'm going to be late for, what I was doing that morning. And then I was like, no, I'm sure we'll get onto it. I haven't been very well earlier this year. So my body's moving, giving the dog a good stretch. It's rain, like who cares? And annoyingly, that is something that has to be learned. For a lot of us, we do have to learn that awareness and that shift into, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. So.
Yeah, you're right. Because you're celebrating what you've achieved. But I think the negativity bias comes from that vision of what the outcome actually was, not being what you envisioned.
100%.
Because you envisioned a nice sunny run where everything went to plan. But you're forgetting that you still did the run. It just didn't look as you wanted it to look. And I feel the same again with coming back to my week here in the lakes, that I envisioned warmer weather, not having to wear my thermals on the bike. Not there being any rain.
Sorry, that's our marketing, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's also the way that I've camped in the past. I've chosen to go on good weather days. I've followed the sun. This time I didn't. I just committed to the Lake District.
Yeah, nice.
Didn't really check the weather.
Yeah.
I think the weather changed.
It's best not to. Yeah.
And it's variable when you're up here anyway. But despite this week not looking as I envisaged, yes, you're right. I've still found the joy. And that joy has been by just getting out the house. Because, okay, it's nice to come back to a tent and have a cup of tea and some biscuits. It took me 3 days to buy some biscuits, which is too long. I really wanted some biscuits after my first 2 rides. But then you get cold and you just hear the rain. But, on Wednesday, I took myself to the pub as a treat for myself because I need to get out. I envisaged maybe I'd meet someone. Maybe it'd be sociable. It wasn't. I sat there on my own and I did this little board game that I'd bought for myself, which took me the whole evening to figure out.
I saw that. Like that really gave me anxiety.
Yeah, the rule book was like 20 pages long. But that was my evening learning this game. Like I hoped I could play it, but I couldn't. But I could at the end, right? Again, it didn't envisage. It wasn't the outcome I was expecting.
Yeah.
But I still found the joy despite everything.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're getting it. That's it. Honestly, anything. Absolutely anything. I can think of any crap that I've gone through in the last couple of years, and I can tell you there was still joy there. I still found joy. For sure. Like, I haven't been proven wrong yet.
I'm just jumping in and I'll let you get back to the episode in a minute. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't yet subscribed or liked or followed this podcast, please would you mind doing so now? It makes a massive difference in getting more people to find this show. Well, how do you convince someone to find the joy when they are so fixated on a version of their life that they will never achieve? And that's what's bringing in the negativity constantly. And they have this, perhaps a similar version of where you were many years ago, and probably the same with me as well. Yeah,
it's the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives that we've built up over time. I sometimes call them like old tape decks or what have you. That you, like you said there, that you're telling yourself. What are you telling yourself? What is telling yourself that protecting you from? So I do a lot of, we call it like parts work in coaching. So, and we literally say it in our like, well, part of me thinks this, part of me thinks that. And interestingly, I was literally talking about this with my partner last night. We were talking about, I have always valued independence, big old value for me. And we were talking about what that looks like in terms of, for me, being, living on my own, or being in a relationship, or with my family, or with my friends, with my work, because I do kind of work alone pretty much. And I will even use language such as a lone wolf, right? So I'm not saying I'm perfect. Like, so to use your example, I might say things like, you know, I'm never going to work in a team, or I'm never going to work for somebody else ever again, right? Even if I've envisaged, I'd love to, like, you know, I don't know, build a company and then sell it or what have you. If I'm telling myself something like, well, that's not going to happen because I'm an independent person. And when we were talking it through, I actually realized that this independent part of me is actually two parts. So there's the one part that's independent, and I described her as weather appropriate. Actually, she's got like her wellies on and a yellow coat, and she's ready for anything. She's probably got a rucksack on, and she's the adventurous independent. I've done a lot of solo travel, doesn't bother me. She's the curious independent, so she'll go talk to anyone, she's not bothered. She's the slightly wily, witchy independent, you know, side of me, and she's cool, quite like her. But this other part of me who's independent, she, I don't know why, has a blue uniform on for some reason. And she, her independence comes from a place of protection. So I'm not going to ask for what I need. I'm not going to let people help me. And that's a part of my independence that I don't quite like, if I'm completely honest. So I know that's the work that needs to be done. So yeah, if I was working with somebody who is really struggling to see either the possibility in a dream, or has decided that, I don't know, life's just shit at the moment and they're never going to get to where they want to get to, for me, I'm going to want to know, what is this protecting you from? And most people will come back, it's not protecting me from anything, is it? It's crap. And I'm like, but you're there, you're sitting in that right now. So I often say to people, and it's not the absolute science of it, but your brain's number one job is to keep you safe, really, you know, survival instinct, freeze, you know, all those kind of things. It will do whatever it thinks it needs to do to keep you safe. So if there is something that you really want that you haven't been able to realize yet, then you have to work with your brain. How can I make you feel safe about that suggestion, right? So my dream was to live in the Lake District. How can I feel safe about that? I got to sell my house. I know my parents are going to be up there as well. It was when my Instagram was just taking off. So there was people up there that I knew I could maybe make friends with. I was going to have my dog with me. So even if I lived somewhere I didn't know, I'd feel safe in the home that I was in. So these are just the little things. I've got my safety net. Okay, I've got my foundation. Okay, let's build some joy into this. Now this is quite exciting. Now I'm quite looking forward to it. So yeah, there's something in it. I don't know how well I've answered the question there, but there is just something in it for me about what are you internalizing? What are you holding on to? One of my things is drop the rope, which I actually nicked from my mum, but I don't think she minds. But I'm basically talking about letting it go. Drop the rope. What are you holding on to so tightly of, I can't, I'll never be able to, this will stop me. If you just let go of that, then what does that leave you with? Now it leaves you with potentially trying something, just seeing where it goes, experimenting, treating it as an adventure, you know, whatever language you want to use. And I find that works a lot with people as well. When it's not now or never, all or nothing, when we can kind of move away from that mentality into, I'm just going to start this side hustle and see where it goes, right? I'm just going to go on that bike tour and let's just see what happens, right? There's no right or wrong. There's no ridiculous goal attached to it. It's just living. It's just experiencing, which is, you know, so many of us don't realize how lucky we are to be here. You know, what is it? It's like 1 in 4 billion chance of you being here, or something might even be more than that. Yeah, I just can't stay in the negative. It's really, really interesting swing of the pendulum, if you like.
It's about taking that first step, I suppose, and trying to see where that journey takes you and being curious. One of the things you do in your business is help people set up their own businesses and take those first leaps to overcome fear, their own mindset that makes them scared of taking steps that might seem I guess, too big for where they see themselves, and overcoming cringe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
By putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that form of your work. How do you help people overcome cringe?
What a great question. So I think with cringe, I think there's a few different things. So there's one, people absolutely despise the idea of potentially having to be on social media more, marketing themselves more. And then the other side of the cringe is people will think, people will say, it's a judgment thing. What's the external judgment going to be, right? And it's almost like, does the cringe sit in between, I don't know, I'm going to make this up here, but an example might be somebody who has always been, let's say they're a corporate lawyer, and then they actually have a great affinity and incredible skills in knitting jumpers. I don't know. There's a cringe in the middle of that of identity, basically. Well, I'm a corporate lawyer, so what are people going to think if I suddenly start selling jumpers on Etsy or what have you? So for me, people will use that language, right? People will say this, my parents are going to think that, my friends will judge me. I find a lot of the time, take out whoever you said was going to judge you or, I don't know, say things about you. Are you currently thinking that about yourself? Do you currently judge yourself? Do you currently think it's a stupid idea? We often will kind of outsource how we actually feel about something internally to external. So yeah, it's, I'm trying to think if I ever felt cringe about when I started producing content for the Joy Project. And I don't know, it's probably quite hard for me to answer because I think I actually just got on with it a little bit. But maybe it's something to do with the belief in yourself. You're not going to find it cringe when you believe in it, right? So I have to create pretty woo mindset content. I have to talk about some pretty, varied topics, but topics that, okay, maybe a lot of people don't really want to talk about on social media. But then if everyone's not talking about it, who's going to start the conversation? So there's maybe something in that for me. You get over the cringe by doing some work on how important it is. And okay, you could be like, well, isn't it cringe to talk about the jumper that you've just knitted? And it's like, well, no, because what if somebody sees that post and goes, that is the perfect gift for my grandma. Landed on it. It's the one that she had when she was a little girl. She's going to love this. They're not thinking about the cringiness of the creator. They're thinking, oh, thank God I saw that reel today or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't know, maybe a bit of self-indulgence as well. Stop making it about you.
I think once you do put that thing out there, despite all the problems that social media has, it's an incredible tool to connect us all. And you do find that you find that audience who can relate to something that some other people might think is cringe.
100%.
Go fuck yourself.
Literally, I will say that to clients setting up their business when they're like, what if somebody doesn't like my post? They have free will to carry on scrolling. We don't care about those people. Those people aren't about to invest in you. They don't want to work with you. So who cares? You could... It's a bit of a weird tactic, but I will sometimes, if I have a client who I'm helping them start a business and they are really getting stuck on the social media, because that's where the cringe usually comes in. It's around the social media or talking about it to friends and family about what they're doing or whatever. I will sometimes use the tactic of, if they'll say, I just can't post about it. Let's say they've started they're a nutritionist and they want to start their own business as a nutritionist. I will sometimes use a tactic of saying, it's actually really selfish of you that you're choosing not to post. Your skills, your knowledge, your experience. I've had it before where I've read a post and gone, that's just changed my entire day. Or, oh my gosh, I had no idea about that. That's amazing. That's blown my mind. So I'll often say to people, it's a bit selfish of you not to post that because you could have changed somebody's day to day. And you're, like I just said, you're making it about you. Stop making it about you. Surely the output is to reach other people. And yeah, to your point, if somebody sees a piece of content and doesn't like it, fine, they can go look at the other 1,000 posts they're probably going to see, the rest of the day.
And what is quite typical when you start out something, you might feel like it is cringe to put yourself out there, especially if you're having to do your own publicity, your own kind of marketing, and you are, let's say, your brand. The moment you become successful, all those people that might have thought that you were cringe are suddenly raving about you. That they knew you before when you first started. And suddenly it goes from cringe to being this like hugely successful thing. Like, oh my God, yes. Oh yeah, I've been following this since the start.
Yeah. But do you know what? That's a really good point as well about because I've just been talking about if you find it cringe, but yeah, if other people find your content cringe, or your business idea cringe, or the podcast you've just started cringe, or the, I don't know, bloody coffee shop you just opened, whatever it is, I often, it's just so much more, it says so much more about them than it does about you. For me, if anybody who cringed when I first became a life coach, because I was quite young, I was 32, 31, I think. I don't know, for me, I'm going to sit in the fact that maybe they went, oh, she's so cringe. It's like, well, okay. That's absolutely fine. But what's the fear? What do you think is cringe about it? What's the fear sat behind that? Is it, or people will say, I could never do something like that. It's like, cool. Well, I did. So that's you. You're talking about yourself there. Again, coming back to what I said earlier about I could never. What is that statement protecting you from? So that's the same, to call somebody cringe or whatever it is that they're doing cringe. What does making statements like that protect you from thinking, maybe?
Yeah. And that first post, you might look back at it and be like, oh my God, did I really put out content like that?
100%.
But that's how the journey starts, right?
Yeah.
Because then you learn by doing.
Yeah.
And if you don't do, you're never going to learn.
Oh.
You'll be stuck in this place forever.
My colour palette, my logo, my copy, my point of view, all of that has ebbed and flowed and changed over the years, the same way I've changed as a person, and that's, big excuse I find people, I haven't decided on my colours yet, I haven't decided on the name or the logo and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's going to change anyways. So just start somewhere. Nobody, if you change your logo in 2 years' time, is going to go, oh, can't work with her anymore because she's changed that. Like, they don't care. People don't care as much as we think they do.
And once you take that leap to put yourself out there, and let's talk specifically your situation by going self-employed. Once you are in that world, you're then open to a whole new world of opportunity that you can take because you now have the capacity to do that. But you couldn't when you're stuck on the tracks working for someone else. But you never know what that world will look like until you're in it for a little while.
Yeah.
And suddenly those doors start opening for you. And suddenly you're like, oh, I could do this and do that. So let's talk a little bit. I suppose let's bring it back to the Joy Project and what that now looks like after it's now been a part of your life for the last few years.
Yeah.
With all the little kind of things that come out of it. Tell us what it's more than just being a life coach.
It is, yeah, for sure. And yeah, the word that comes up for me is experimentation, which I've been able to do because it's mine, right? I can do what I like with it. So yeah, there's been like multiple group programs and digital products. And obviously I do a podcast.
At the heart of it, what is the very heart of the Joy Project?
The heart of the Joy Project is helping people get the fuck out of their own way, basically. Through different ways of doing that, whether it is just because I've just mentioned it, whether it is listening to a podcast episode and I've got ADHD, I will often talk about my ADHD. And
I love your podcast, by the way.
Thank you. I need to do more of it.
I was about to say you need to do more of that. They're brilliant, and they're little bite-sized pieces as well. I think that's so good about it because you can just tune in, get a little nugget of
100%.
inspiration and get on with your life. And that's so beautiful.
But that's the whole point. Like, using the example of ADHD, I've had people, I remember doing an episode where I was like, I'm just going to talk about my ADHD today. And I had like 2 or 3 women get in touch and be like, thank you so much. I needed to hear that today. So it could be something as small as like a piece of content from the Joy Project, or I run retreats here in the Lake District for women. And like, you know, these I've done 12 now, and like best friends have been formed from strangers meeting on these retreats. Women have gone home and started businesses, moved, like changed careers. Like, there's literally next weekend like 12 of us all meeting down in Glastonbury. All of these women at some point have moved through the Joy Project, whether it was a retreat, a program, like whatever. So maybe at the heart of it, it is absolutely helping people get the fuck out of their own way. But there is also a movement, let's say, that I'm trying to nurture around these type of women who are very similar to me, meeting other types of women just like them, and seeing that you're not the odd one out. You're not behind. You're not struggling to keep up, or you're not weird because you want different things to maybe the girls that you've always been, you know, friends with since school. So there's something in maybe not necessarily following the traditional path, or maybe you have been on that traditional path and it's not working for you. There's a community element, and especially in 2026, I'm seeing this a lot, both online and offline. Now more than ever, we've never needed community and connection more. And if a few of my things can facilitate that, then I'm very happy to do so.
COVID, I think, is one of those big springboards that came off, I think. And I'm also seeing, certainly from what I see in London and some of my friends, the generation who went to university during COVID coming into the world. Yeah. And they just missed 3 years of their life. Yeah. That should have been the best years of their life. Yeah. Where they had to stay at home and just do Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing them really thrive by having to find communities outside of university. Yeah. And I think that's so interesting to know that there is this generation out there that are so hungry for it. I mean, we obviously are slightly older as millennials. Still, you know, everyone required, you know, we all went through our journey during COVID where we were stuck indoors and we realized the importance of getting out of the house. But I think it's so interesting now that this generation who are, let's say they're 24 years old or something, getting into the world of work, who had some of their, what should have been their best years of their life ruined through COVID. Speaking a lot about these retreats you do with women, and one of your lines is, you're not stuck, you're just waiting for permission. Yeah. And I wonder, is there a gender bias around permission where women feel the need more to, that they perhaps lack that kind of confidence to take step? Is it generally a man thing that they just go fuck it, they get out there and do it?
I guess it's like all of this stuff you can look back at, like childhood and that kind of thing, and child development. And I couldn't speak for now, but I know that there is stuff that stays with us for a very long time. So, you know, even when I was at school, like girls in PE, we didn't play football. Like you played netball. Or I remember in science, like you would get paired up, girl and boy, and the boy would be the one who went and collected the Bunsen burner and probably turned it on, and little things like that kind of stay with you. So that, yeah, maybe as we come into adulthood, and, you know, I don't know, you could have had that one time where you were overlooked for a job and it went to a guy, or you know, whatever it is. I think there is still millennials. I'd hope that it gets better with the future generations, but I do think that women still feel like they need more signals, more external signals that something is okay to go for it than guys do. Like, it's the thing, the statistic people use a lot of, like, I'm not going to get this completely right, but, you know, a guy will look at a job application and know that he's good for 70% of it and go, right, I'm going to apply. A woman will look at the same job application and go, I can't do 30% of it, so I'm not going to apply. So it's that kind of thing. And it's not necessarily to, like, blame guys or anything. I think there's a healthy awareness of it would maybe be appreciated at times. But God, yeah, I work with a lot of women that it is absolutely, unless it is perfect, unless I've got everybody I know behind me on this, unless I feel confident that it's not going to go wrong, that I'm not going to fail, that I'm not going to get judged, all of these different things, I'm not going to go for it. I'm not going to do it. And that's just really sad to me, you know, really, really sad. Now, I would definitely, because I have worked with guys before, I would definitely say that guys can have absolutely the same hang-ups. But if I even think about a couple of guys that I've worked with, it's maybe not necessarily for them about what's holding them back internally. For them, it's been more, I haven't quite connected the dots yet. Like, I don't feel like I've took the right action yet. So they're very happy to take the action. They're not going to question that. It's more sorting through it, if that makes sense. So yeah, there probably is a little bit of a bias. I hope that it improves. But yeah, it is women saying, I just feel really stuck. I just feel like life feels a bit boring at the moment. I can't move on things yet. And it's usually because they're waiting for somebody or something to tell them, if you go do this, start the business, start the podcast, whatever it is, get into a relationship. If you go do this, I got the crystal ball, it's all going to be fine, crack on. And that does not exist. We have to kind of, it's self-trust. You have to trust that even if this goes tits up, you're going to be absolutely fine. And that's a hard pill for a lot of women to swallow.
How do you unlock that mindset that allows them to give themselves permission?
So something I'm probably known for is talking a lot about taking messy action. And that's probably what I would say. And when I say take messy action, I don't mean reckless. I don't mean just do anything. I mean, messy action is usually something that's quite small and that you don't have completely figured out. And that's where you're going to build the self-trust. It's a good point to talk about joy mail, actually. That's an amazing example. So I have been sat on this idea for about 7 months. I'm seeing it's the whole analog thing, right? We're all getting into analog. We all want to get off our phones.
Yes, you've got an amazing mailing list, right?
So I've literally
like a digital mailing list.
I've got a digital mailing list, which is very, very large.
But you want to turn it analog.
I realized at the start of this year, unless you come on one of my retreats, it's all online. Everything is online. And I was like, don't like that. Not happy with, don't like that. Yes, we're all talking about analog culture now and stuff like that. And I just started seeing, you've got lots of incredible illustrators, graphic designers, artists, been doing, they call it snail mail. It's a monthly subscription. They'll send you something in the post. And I wasn't seeing any coaches. I wasn't seeing any mindset coaches doing it. And I was like, one, it's either because it's a shit idea, or two, I could be at the start of something here. So I sat on it for a little bit. And then literally a couple of months, about 6 weeks ago even, I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna take some of my own advice here. Messy action. What do I know? I know what I need to order. I know I'm going to need to get a printer to print some of it. I know I want to share exercises with people. I want to write a letter. I want to put something nice in it. So I'm just going to, what's the messy action here? Let's just build a prototype, right? I've not even told myself I'm going to sell it yet. I'm just going to try something and see what happens. So that's what I did.
So you're making something that no one's going to see.
Literally.
Yeah.
But
yourself.
Me.
Yes.
Yeah. And I did that. And then I was like, right, what's the next messy action? Okay, now I'm going to send some out to people. I'm going to see what people, so I'm going to make 5 of them and I'm going to send them out. And now I'm going to give myself permission to go back and maybe update the exercises, and maybe the letter wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. And the whole time I'm going through this process, I am building evidence in my brain. Nothing's gone wrong. There was no catastrophe. You haven't failed. You're actually having some serious fucking fun with this. And it's joyful. It's an experience. It is a joy project. Creating this product has been a joy project in itself. And at any point I can go, nah, I'm out. This is too hard. Like, I mean, I'm literally about to pack like 80 envelopes on Monday. So spoiler alert, I'm in it now. I've seen it through. But yeah, that's what I share with people. Tiniest bit of messy action, but you have to build that self-trust. You have to build that evidence. Like I said earlier, every single part of this is teaching your brain it's okay. Nothing bad happened. Next step. And also deciding that whatever the self-trust, whatever is the opposite of that, fear of failure, fear of judgment, whatever, like, what are you saying that means about you, right? So if I'd made the prototype and then been like, this is a bit shit actually, I can choose to believe it's because I'm shit. It's because I'm not creative. It's because I just need to stay in my lane online. I can't make physical products. Or I could be like, I need to learn something about stationery. So I'm going to go watch a fucking YouTube or whatever it is. That's where we go from quite a closed mindset to an open mindset, I guess. But yeah, tiny bits of messy action, and just follow it, pull the thread, see where it takes you. And also accepting that things are going to change, right? My original idea for this mail has changed. My original idea for the retreats has changed. How I originally coached has since changed. And that's a whole different thing around how humans feel about change, but it is just kind of carrying yourself through it and just seeing where it goes.
If you'd have reached a point in your prototype where you'd have thought, you know what, this has taken me a lot of time. I don't have capacity for this right now. I want to sideline it. How would you deal with like going through the motions of something and actually saying no?
No, it was a really good question. Well, I talked earlier about drop the rope. So I have 4 things with the Joy Project. Call it a framework, call it a method, whatever you want to call it. One of them is take messy action. One of them is get curious, gather information, be open-minded. The other is drop the rope. That's usually the first thing. What do we need to drop the rope on here or let go? And the fourth one is pause, pivot, progress. So do you need to pause on something? And for me, if I think about the prototype, do I need to pause on this? Do I have the time right now to pack all these bloody envelopes and see this through and change it and whatever? And if logically and zooming out and looking in on it, it's not going to work right, okay, pause. That's fine. Do I need to actually pivot on it? Is the prototype too big, or is it asking too much of me? Or is it something that comes out every 2 months rather than every month or quarterly? Do I need to change something? So you're going to continue with it, but it's going to be slightly different. Or do I need to progress? And interestingly, I find that a lot of people will think they need to stop, pause, or they need to change shit, pivot. And actually what they found themselves in is the uncomfortableness of, I think I might actually be onto something here. And now we're in the realms of fear of success.
Ooh.
Which scares the shit out of people, including myself.
Yeah. Well, how do we solve this problem?
I'll tell you when I find out. Yeah, it's. I can talk about all the different fears, right, and how you get past them. Fear of success is the one that still blinds me, right? So this Joy Mail is done at point of recording this. I am 20 away from hitting 100, which was my original goal. And I'm excited about that, but I can literally feel in my body right now this, fuck, what if I actually do hit 100? I've said I want 1,000 by December. And already I'm like, fuck, what if I hit 1,000? What does that mean about me?
Then you have to upscale and you have to go into territory that you're not prepared for.
100%. I'm now uncomfortable. I'm now in the stretch zone, right? And wonderful, beautiful things happen in the stretch zone, but so many of us don't let ourselves step into it.
The stretch zone? So the stretch zone is when you are...
So I can't remember who came up with it, but basically there is a model and it's 3 circles like a target. In the middle you have your comfort zone, then you have your stretch zone, then you have your panic zone. Right. And what a lot of us do when we come up with an idea or there's something we want to aim for, we will talk about why we can't achieve it from the comfort zone, and the why is something that's out in the panic zone, right? So I might, from my comfort zone, say there's no way I can send out like 1,000 envelopes every month, right? I don't like, where's it all going to go in my flat? And I'm capacity with one-to-ones, and I've got other things that that I'm doing and all this different stuff. But my comfort zone brain safe only knows what it knows right now, which is no idea how to create and pack 1,000 envelopes, right? So actually, I'm gonna try and bring some awareness to that. All right, I'm in the panic zone right now. This is ridiculous. Like, stop it. Bring it down. What's just a stretch? Okay, what if I just tried to sell 10? Or what if my stretch zone was 100? What if I just get to 100? That doesn't sound too bad, actually. I got a decent audience on Instagram. I've done my research. I know that the analog aspect of it and like snail mail's already a thing. So actually, and I can feel my brain going, all right, go on, then we'll give it a go. But so many of us don't go to the stretch zone. We expect so much of ourselves. And usually you're expecting something of yourself, which your brain has absolutely no evidence
it's
of.
50 steps ahead.
100%.
And you start thinking of the next 5 steps ahead.
Literally that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. I can visualize now the panic zone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very interesting to have that psychoanalyze yourself and in moments. This is where this is so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, okay, so then you're going to love this next bit. So my stretch zone is currently 100 envelopes a month, right? Give me 6 months. 100 envelopes a month becomes my comfort zone. And that's the cycle. You constantly, the more you achieve, the more you prove to yourself it's okay, nothing bad happened, the more evidence you build.
That comfort zone is expanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your stretch zone expands with it.
Yeah. I always use the analogy of learning to ride a bike, right?
Yeah.
When you were a kid, your comfort zone was not knowing how to ride a bike because you'd never done it before. Panic zone was no stabilizers, aimed down a hill in the local park, no knee pads on, no helmet, right? But that's not where we were taught. We had stabilizers, maybe a parent or a guardian had the hand at your back. Yep. It was just in the garden, or for me, it was the pavement outside my house. That was the stretch zone. And then the more I practiced that then became my comfort zone. Okay, should we try with the stabilizers off? Right? That's how these things work. And anybody who thinks of themselves as like quite a high achiever or somebody who's quite ambitious or whatever just makes it so fucking hard for themselves. And they're like, can't do that because of whatever. And they're talking about something that sits in the panic zone.
You brought me back to cycling a bike. And,
that was a good analogy.
This core memory of my dad running behind me. And, the comfort zone was knowing that he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a realization that he actually wasn't there. He was just shouting louder. And I've been doing this on my own. And it was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, that's the stretch zone. And then that became the comfort zone. You can ride a bike. You don't need your dad right behind you. And then maybe the panic zone is him not being in the vicinity whatsoever or, whatever. But this is the cycle that this is why I love the brain, mindset, neuroscience. I say this so often and I know it pisses people off, but I'm like, there is shit we should have been taught in school over Pythagoras' theorem that would have really set us up a little bit more in life. And this stuff is happening all the time. It's not automatic. These are learnt behaviors. I can't. Remember, do you ever watch the film Bruce Almighty? So you remember where he's trying to sort out what to do with the prayers. And in one scene, he goes, I'm going to put them all in filing cabinets. And then there's just like a room full of filing cabinets. That's how I think of my brain, right? My brain is full of filing cabinets with evidence, data, memories, experiences that have built up over time. And they are creating our view of the world. And what a lot of people really struggle with their entire lives, and what nobody tells them, is you can actually take one of those files out and decide to rewrite it, or decide that it's not applicable anymore, or that it doesn't make sense for right now. So going back to what I said earlier about my independence, right? My independent gal in her blue uniform, to protect myself, because nobody else is going to look after me, all that kind of stuff is learned. It's learned from childhood and not very nice experiences over the years. I can't burn the file, I can't burn the memories or what have you, but I can go, I'm going to put a big old stamp on this that says no longer applicable. I don't need to believe those things anymore. I don't need to be shaped by them, and kind of stow them away.
How do you do that?
A lot of practice. Probably bringing awareness. Again, like I said earlier, how do I think it's protecting me? What evidence do I have now that the same thing's gonna like happen again, maybe? And even if it did happen again, can I just put some self-trust that I'll be okay? You know, it's been a big thing for me the last couple of years. I went through quite a big breakup a couple of years ago. As I mentioned, I wasn't very well at the start of this year, which was a whole thing. And there was something in talking to myself and talking myself through these moments of, okay, I know why you're scared, because breakup, for example, you've been through a breakup before. They're not very nice situations. You're in hospital. What does your, 8-year-old Meg believe about hospitals aren't nice, all these kind of things. Okay, what do you choose to believe? Choose to believe something different. Can you choose to believe that just for today, or just for tonight, or just while you're journaling, or whatever it is? Again, the word that keeps coming back to my head is experimentation, experimenting with things, just playing with things, and seeing where that takes you, I guess.
You briefly talked about it just then. You went through a change in your life a few years ago, and probably, I suppose, in the advent of you sharing more of your journey online, you decided to share a bit about, I guess, journey into the world of, I don't know, trying to find love, but fundamentally trying to find love for yourself.
Yeah.
It's something that resonated with a lot of people online,
right?
With some of the content that you put out there.
Yeah.
And even resonated with someone like me, who's been nearly 4 years single now. And definitely took inspiration by this phrase, date yourself.
Yeah.
You brought this to light.
Yeah.
In a way, which I guess this is sometimes so much about life coaching. It's sometimes saying something that actually exists in this world. You just can't see it. It's just not been categorized for you to, and then as soon as it's like pinpointed down with a label, then there's so much clarity.
Yeah.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing parts of your journey.
So I went through a breakup a couple of years ago, which was I didn't see coming, unfortunately. And again, interestingly, what I was talking about earlier, like finding joy, right? I knew when I was going through that breakup that I had an amazing opportunity here to prove the shit that I talk about online and be like, even though I'm going through this breakup, I'm going to find joy. And it was, I moved back in with my parents for a bit, quite get on with my parents. We had fun, right? I found joy in the community that, wrapped their arms around me. I found joy in spending time with my dog. I moved back into my flat, and then I found joy in making the flat my own, and, all those kind of things. And then, it kind of naturally moved into this piece around solo dating and dating yourself. And I guess what I was going for, or what I wanted to learn from it, was there is, when you're in partnership, whether it's like a relationship, a friendship, whatever it is, you will often look to the other person to bring certain things. So whether it's treating you, or reassuring you, or getting you out and about, or planning things, or whatever it is. And I kind of came to this realization that if I was going to meet somebody else and what I would expect from them, would it not make sense for me to start providing that to me first? And I guess I did that, pretty much all of last year. And there was something intentional about showing yourself what you deserve by doing it, obviously, for yourself. And then I wondered whether when I came to meeting somebody, it would make me, this sounds awful, it would make me like better at choosing or it would improve my boundaries, or it would mean that I stayed very intentional on what it was that I was looking for, because I kind of not put myself on a pedestal, but I'd enjoyed living life with me, which sounds really, really, really random. And I think anytime where you come across something that you really like to experience, whether it's going for a coffee in the morning or going on, I don't know, trying to think of things I did last year, going to Edinburgh for the day, or I don't know, taking yourself on a hike or whatever the thing is, if for even a moment you think to yourself, well, I have to do that with somebody else. For me, it's almost like, why? What are you outsourcing to that person? That's a lot of pressure on another person to like bring, something for you. And I went to Edinburgh just before Christmas. That was a really big thing for me. I knew I wanted to go at Christmas. I was going to go for the day.
This is on your own? Yeah,
on my own. And I drove up in the morning. I spent all day in Edinburgh. I just wandered around. I did some history stuff. I did some, some just like sightseeing stuff. And then I had some dinner and I drove home. Absolutely, I'd love to experience that with somebody else. I'm sure I will. But there was something about gifting that to myself and that made me feel quite whole and worthwhile, I think. And it's, I talk to a lot of people. I'm not going to say women, it's men as well. I talk to a lot of people where we use it in our language of like the missing part, the missing jigsaw piece or whatever, almost insinuating you're not whole unless you're with somebody else. And there's probably some romance in that, but I also think it can be very detrimental to how you then choose to live your life. So
I'm 13 years out of a 13-year relationship for just under 4 years ago. And so the immediate thing I think I realised is how sad and depressing weekends are.
Yeah, weekends. Yeah.
Weekends, okay, just a massive hole.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And I was thankful to have some running communities to kind of dip into, certainly on Saturdays. And I learned the importance of being the last person to leave. Because when you're on your own and you live on your own, you're only going back to a home on your own.
Yeah, nice, yeah.
And I've heard that kind of be called lingering.
Okay, ooh, interesting.
As a really good method for people who are single.
Okay, okay.
Make sure you linger longer than you would normally.
Nice.
Don't be like, okay, I've got to go home now. Like, no, hang on, can I extend this stay more? Because I'm with people.
I love that, yeah.
And so I'd go for a run, then I'd go for lunch, and then I'd linger. And I'd be like, because there was previous weeks when I went home, I'm like, oh, it's 4:00 and I'm home on my own, and what do I do?
This is it now. Yeah.
So you'd linger, and you'd find that other people would be lingering as well, unconsciously, because they were also in the world of singleton. But I've not been very kind to myself over the years. And whilst I have had some communities to dip into onto weekends, I don't really love doing like a long run on a weekend. I don't want to go and do that. But they're the people I'm around. I would much rather go away for a weekend. That was always the story of me and my ex. We'd go visit family or we'd go away somewhere. Have I been away anywhere? No, in that time. And that's sad, isn't it? And just hearing about your journey to Edinburgh, just a day trip.
Yeah.
And I think of all those days that I've had on weekends when I could have just say, I've got a car, just go somewhere.
Yeah.
See something, be curious. And come back home late.
Yeah.
And then the next day you can chill out and, do whatever. And I think, I suppose being introduced to you and this, the beautiful videos that you did about dating yourself and the things about how important it is to say, no, I'm going to take control of my life. And if someone wants to fit into that, they can.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be a badass person first.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still a badass person. And you know, full transparency, there's been, you know, short-term relationships in that time. So not been like just me twiddling my thumbs for the whole 4 years. But yeah, thank you for, I suppose, opening this world of saying, you know what, fuck it, you don't need someone else to go and do it. You can drive up to the Lake District and have a week camping in your tent, which you've not been out in. Because it was a tent I had with my ex.
Okay.
Who we went and did long adventures with.
Yeah.
And I've always felt like I've needed permission to go do something like a week camping with someone else.
But that's the thing, it's the permission thing, right? I'm waiting for permission. And interestingly, what I will then say is that the not the problem, but the interesting thing that I'm now working through is that because I created this life of single solo and just getting on with it, I am now in a relationship with somebody who is just as busy as me. So you then create this problem where you're like, shit, we have to really work hard to blend here. And because we both do have things that are very important to us. And like, you know, that's where our conversation around independence came up because now there is another person to think about and stuff like that. So I actually would say, through as much as I'm really happy with that experiment that I ran last year, it's this pendulum, right, of not waiting for permission and not just being at home all the time on your own, but you can, as I have maybe done a little bit, swung it so far that you're now so fucking busy and your calendar is so full that if you do meet somebody, all right, how do I get this back to an equilibrium? Like, how do I get that back to the middle? Which I will absolutely say is a really lovely problem to have. And I don't regret any of how last year went. And something that still does linger in that independent adventure part of me that I love is that I will still just take myself for a coffee. And there are hikes that, you know, if my partner's not available, I'm just going to go anyways. So it's about, I think if you get into like a next relationship or whatever, what have you learned? What are you going to take with you? Because I do think a lot of people lose themselves in relationships. I've definitely done that where I've thought I am so boring. Like I literally don't do anything. And who am I outside of this relationship? If the relationship is literally like the most interesting thing about me or what have you. So yeah, I am still working on it. I am now working on finding that balance somewhere in the middle. But I would prefer that to somebody who literally does nothing just because they're on their own.
Tell us about the things that you did to get yourself out the door, to get yourself doing things, meeting people, having experiences that were personal to you.
Yeah, so I would find group hikes. I'd find group hikes to go on, or any kind, even like a gym class, right? Anything where they don't know whether you're single or not, and they also don't care. It's really funny.
When you say that, is that because you are hoping you meet someone, or what is?
I guess you'll know this as well as I do. Like, you know, so there'll be days where I realise, because I work from home as well, there'll be days where I realise that unless I talk to a client, the only other thing I'd talk to was my dog. So even just a conversation, right? Even just having a conversation with somebody else, not necessarily trying to romantically meet somebody, but literally just having a human to human conversation. One of my favorite coffee shops in Keswick in town, the girls know me by name now. I know them by name. And okay, coffee is expensive, but I'm actually not buying the coffee. I'm buying the experience that comes from enjoying the coffee. I can hear the girls giggling behind. Maybe we'll have a bit of chatter. I've got my laptop with me, so maybe I'm going to do a bit of work, you know. And yeah, maybe there is a couple sat right next to me. And it reminds me, I worked with a client once who we were talking about her solo dating. She'd come out of a relationship. And I remember the simplest thing of going for a walk, right? She's going for a walk on her own, scared the shit out of her. Just absolutely no go. And she couldn't explain why. And then in her next session, she said, it's clicked. I know why I can't go for a walk on my own. And she said, I always go to my local park and me and my ex would walk our dog together. And she said, I cannot think of walking the dog without worrying what other people in the park think of me. So in her head, there may be two people walking towards her thinking, she's on her own. Like, that's sad, isn't it? That's lonely. And I don't know how we got onto it, but I remember saying like, people like run on their own. Oh, no, running on your own's fine. And I was like, why is running on your own but not walking on your own fine? Oh, well, because if you're running on your own, like exercise, there's a purpose. To her, walking her dog on her own had absolutely no purpose. People would judge her for it. And I think we had a bit of a laugh because I was like, there's why do you think people care? Like, do you really? And she seriously believed that going shopping on her own, going for a coffee on her own, a walk, whatever it was, people were going to judge her. So I could tell you loads of different things that I did last year, big things, but it's probably the smallest things that were maybe the most impactful, really, like just day to day things that were yours and nobody else's. You didn't need somebody else there for it to be a nice, I'm going to be cheesy here, joyful experience.
It's so interesting to hear someone's experience of what other people might think of them being on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I had a similar experience at Glastonbury.
Okay.
Where I was abandoned by some friends who wanted to go on a drug trip without me, basically. And they told me to my face. And I was so upset by it because I had committed to spending some time with these people. And then suddenly I was on my own in a place where you look around, everyone is in groups.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly hard for me walking around, at least in this moment. Now I've done Glastonbury on my own many times. Yeah. And I think once you have that mindset to be like, it's fine, I will meet people, but they're going to fit into my schedule.
100%.
Like, I'm going to boss this. I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if more people want to join me, I'll text everyone where I'm going to be in the day. If they want to come find me, they can come find me. But in that moment, gosh, I couldn't think of any worse a situation than feeling like everyone was looking at you, judging you because you were walking around on your own in a place where everyone is with people. And now I look back on that moment and thought, people didn't give a fuck about me. They never thought that.
And you know
but
what?
I thought that about them.
And I'd be really interested to have seen like your body language and like how
you might have been there.
No, I might have been.
You might have been 22.
The reason I say that is because end of 2019, thinking 2020 was going to be my travel year, lol. End of 2019, I'd literally just got out of like a situationship, basically. Wasn't feeling great. It was New Year's Eve. I was at work because I was like, I'm not taking the day off. Like, I'm not doing anything on my own. My housemate was away and I was at work, and I remember being like, I don't know where this idea came from, but I was like, what if, I was living in just outside Cardiff at the time. What if I just get on a plane tonight and go to Paris for a couple of days? I love Paris. Don't ask me why. So I text my mum, is this a ridiculous idea? And my mum was like, go. Text my boss, do you mind if I take half a day off and like wherever the days were the next week? I think I'm going to go to Paris for a couple of days. And that was same boss that I talked about. That was Fiona. She was like, yeah, go for it. Like, we don't need you there. So I literally went online, booked a flight out of Bristol that was leaving in like 5 hours time, booked a hostel. I went home, I packed, jumped in the car, went to Bristol. And I think I landed in Paris. It was probably around like 8-9 o'clock. Got the metro, whatever it was, to the hostel, dumped my stuff, went straight back out, went to like an off license and bought probably some shitty cans of like Cosmopolitan or something. And I went up to Montmartre. And I knew I wanted to go to Montmartre because it overlooks the entire city. And I knew at midnight, that's going to be like a really cool place to be. And the reason I bring this up is because I was sat on the church steps, minding my own business, and there was two couples by the railings. There was loads of people around, but it was two couples by the railings, and one of the ladies caught my eye and just kind of smiled. And in that moment, I remember choosing, as a very, British, like whatever, I'm going to smile back. And I smiled back, and then it was like midnight maybe, and people are starting to gather, and you can see the Eiffel Tower and blah, blah, blah. And this girl just came up to me, and she was like, I'm not going to do an American accent, but they were both from Washington. She said, "Are you on your own?" And I said, yeah. And I could feel that kind of thing. And I just went, fuck it. And I was like, yeah, I was literally at work today, and I thought, sod it, I want to come to Paris for a couple of days. So I literally got here like an hour ago. That was it. She got the other three. Oh my God, come meet this girl. She's so fucking cool, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? It is really fucking cool that I'm here on my own. I was then no longer on my own. They literally just like adopted me basically. And I went to a couple of bars with them after midnight and yada, yada, yada. And then I did then spend 2 or 3 days in Paris on my own. But it was just, it was just these little tiny moments of, I'm going to smile at them. I'm going to interact with them. They don't think I'm fucking ridiculous that I'm there on my own. They actually think it's really, really cool. And I just think we get so in our own heads about solo, single, stuff like that, when actually a lot of people are potentially looking at us thinking, fair play. Like, and we don't give ourselves a moment to acknowledge that.
So true. I agree. I would do the same if I met you.
Yeah, literally,
like, good for you. Yeah, badass.
But we don't do it for ourselves.
Yeah, we don't. How can we?
Well, I think it's... Okay, so I was recently in London with my partner, and I remember saying to him, do you know what? The last time I was in London, it was for my best friend was getting married. And I was very, very single. And I think he said, like, how did that feel or what have you? And I was like, I actually had a really good time. I had a really lovely time. I'm not going to start comparing the two. I'm not going to compare that now I'm in London with somebody to that time when I wasn't with somebody. They're just completely different experiences. One is no better than the other. So I think maybe that's it. I think it's this thing of when we're solo, when we're single, what have we decided it means about us?
Yeah. And having to relearn some basic things. I was fiercely independent when I was kind of a teenager. I would walk home from school for a vast part of it alone. I'd get home, didn't have any neighbours to play with, just playing my guitar all evening. And I loved my life back then. Suddenly you have, adult experiences, you find a partner, you get used to that comfort zone. And then also I think since kind of 2020, coming out into the world, I wanted to have more experiences with different people and find more friends. Mm-hmm. So now I crave like doing things with people. And actually, so when I go out and do things, I'll just go through my WhatsApp and just text like the last few people I've texted in the last 3 months and invite them and see what's to come, which I think is beautiful. But I should also have the foresight to say I can still do things on my own, right? Mm-hmm. But when you live on your own, you work on your own, you still want to have some company.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Difficult balance.
It is a difficult balance. And I think also whatever your role is as well, right? Like I definitely realized a lot last year. I was communicating the most with my clients, and that is the nature of, I guess, the work that I do. But then I often would be like, so-and-so hasn't reached out to me in a while. And then I'm like, well, you haven't reached out to them either. And a big thing I think I'm starting to see a lot more of now is because, especially I only really speak from millennials, because there is so many different paths that we're on now, right? So like I have friends who are married with a kid, who are married with 2 kids, who are traveling the world. It might be a digital nomad, are renovating a house, or are going through a breakup, or are in a new relationship, like loads of different scenarios. We don't, the traditional way of all kind of being around the same level is just not a thing anymore. So I'm so curious about seeing how we all hopefully learn better to complement each other and be there for each other, even when you are on a slightly different path. And I think I still see the people that aren't on the traditional married with kids path by 30 or whatever, they are still the ones that get left behind a little bit, or aren't maybe as acknowledged as much, or maybe their life isn't seen as worthwhile, because like you'll meet somebody someday, like you'll have kids someday, whatever it is. And, you know, I work with women who are like, what if I don't want either of those things? Does that mean that my life is not as important or not as rich because I don't want those things? And then it becomes the argument of, do you try and make those friendships work, or do you go find your tribe or your community of people that do want, you know, similar things? And I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm really curious to see where that goes, probably in the next decade, maybe.
So what advice would you give to someone, not just newly single, but also those people who are in a relationship, who feel like they are very much in their comfort zone, to remember that they also need to have independence, to have permission that they can do things on their own, to date themselves? What do they need to do to make sure that they keep that version of themselves alive?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to go back to like the messy action thing again, of like, what's one thing, literally one thing. If you're single, what's one thing you've decided you can't do unless you're in a relationship? And if you're in a relationship, what's one thing you are like maybe waiting for your partner to suggest or whatever it is? And if that is literally as simple as going and sitting in a coffee shop on your own, just to, again, building the evidence, right? Just to show yourself. I always say, how can you flip it? So if I've had people before where I've suggested a coffee shop and they're like, similar to that lady with the walk-in, they're like, but if I'm sat in a coffee shop on my own, other people are going to be like looking at me. And it's like, okay, even if they are looking at you, how can you not notice? Take a book with you, read a book, right? Journal, whatever it is. It's the point of it is that you are in the experience on your own, and whatever it is that's going on around you is actually not as important. So yeah, it would be pick one thing, experiment. What's one tiny, tiny little experiment in your stretch zone? Doesn't feel too terrifying. And again, go from there. I think people are always like, can you tell me what the right thing is to do that I know is going to work? You may go to a coffee shop and not enjoy it, right? But at least you gave it a go. There are some things that you may say, actually, that I just do enjoy doing that with a partner. That's fine. Now you know. So yeah, it's the trying, it's the living, it's the experimentation.
Yeah, I think I hate cooking by myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Do that so much every day.
Yeah.
And because I like to eat healthy food, so I cook from scratch. And that can be quite exhausting when you don't have someone else to help
prep and stuff like that.
Just be just by your side, or just on that one bad day, just take that weight off.
Yeah.
That's where maybe frozen food should come in.
Well, I was going to say, for me, that's what would you be looking for the other person to do? You're looking for the other person to step in and go, I'll cook tonight, babe, it's fine. So for me, that's almost like, well, what do I do for myself? I make something from scratch, but that it can go in this freezer for the next 3 months. So on those days where I'm like, literally can't be asked, I'm like, oh, it's cool, because past Tom thought about me and made whatever's in the freezer, right? Mine's an emergency pizza. There is always an emergency pizza in the freezer. So yeah, I don't know. It's the experimentation for me. It's just a little outside the box, I guess.
Working out what your toolkit is, I suppose.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, 100%.
One of a significant part of this year for you has been quite a significant health scare that became quite a story of ruining a big vacation that you'd put a lot of hope into. You did an incredible podcast episode about it on the Joy podcast, which I'll link below, because I think you really did the story justice. Even though I kind of saw what happened on socials, I'd kind of forgotten the full details until I listened to it recently. And then just hearing you go on and on and on and on and on of this never-ending story really just helped realize what you were going through.
Yeah.
Could you sum up, I suppose, within a couple of minutes, like what happened?
I can, because I've had to get very good at doing this, because I'm still bumping into people who are like, what the fuck just happened? So I've got very good at this. So I have wanted to go to Costa Rica for many, many years. Not sure why, just always have wanted to. And I flew out on the 20th of January. I was going to be on my own for 6 days, going down to the beach, just chilling out. And then I was going to be on a writing retreat for 6 days, which I was really looking forward to. And then I was going to have 6 more days on my own back in San Jose in the capital. And then I was going to come home. And I, 4 days in, started to feel a bit peaky. And I was like, it's jet lag, or I'm not good in the heat, or maybe I've eaten something bad. Or I also went and did a breath workshop and then thought maybe, is this what happens after breath work? Like, fucking idiot. But I did not feel well. And by the 5th night, I started experiencing a fever, and I was having like night sweats, fever dreams, which I would not literally put on my worst enemy. And just all around, like, I'm not doing good. So by the time it got to the day of the retreat and we were all getting picked up from the capital, I did happen to have a friend who was going to be on the retreat as well. And I got on the bus and I was going to be sharing a room with her, and I just shared with her, just so you know, I'm not feeling great. And she was like, no, she's a mum. So she was like, no worries, I got you. And within 2 days, like, I was sick, really sick. I couldn't attend the workshops. We were in this stunning place up in the mountains in Costa Rica, 5-star. And it didn't mean anything to me. Amazing team at the retreat, really looked after me. Finally, we were like, well, they told me, you're going to the medical center. Went to the medical center, had my bloods taken. My temperature was like 39 degrees. Could not get my fever down whatsoever. The whole week of the retreat was just an absolute nightmare. And the retreat was finishing on the Friday. Got to the Thursday night, text my parents and said, look, I'm not getting better. I think maybe I should come home. And my parents were like, yes, we do think you should come home, actually, because from the Friday onwards, I was going to be on my own. And that didn't seem like the best idea. Got my blood results back. There was no dengue fever, thank God. But, what is this tropical bug? What is going on? And spoke to the doctor who'd been kind of like looking after me all week. And he said, yeah, I think I'm going to medically recommend that you go home. So I flew back to the UK.
And did they think it was something tropical out there?
Yeah, 100% bacterial. Right. Something in the water, maybe. Had I been bit by any stray dogs? Like, we were checking everything. So flew back to the UK, and I landed back. I think I got into Heathrow on the Saturday. I had to travel all day, obviously, to get back up to Penrith to get to the lakes. So many people have been like, God, that journey back must have been horrible. I don't remember it. Yeah. Which is really scary, but I don't remember it. Rang 111. They were incredible. They were like, right, let's get you an out of hours doctor's appointment. Went to that on the Sunday morning. She wasn't massively helpful. She was just like, it's viral. You're fine. You just need to go home and rest. But let's put your mind at rest. We'll take some more bloods. And I'm going to give you a paracetamol for the fever, because my temperature had not dropped by then for 10 days. And by 6 o'clock in the evening on the Sunday, I had 5 missed calls from Carlisle Hospital saying, you must immediately come in. We're admitting you into hospital. Your infection markers in your blood are ridiculous. And I would later find out that, I don't want to get this completely wrong, but everybody has an infection marker between 3 and 5 at any one point, because, bacteria is in the air. I think it's something between 10 and 15 is when you're being sent home to rest, or you're getting put on antibiotics if it's bacterial. My infection marker was 193. It was awful. I was really, really sick. Spent 24 hours in A&E waiting for a bed. And they were basically like, if you go home...
Which on its own is a horrendous story.
And my mum was like, please just let me take her home. And they were like, if you leave the hospital, you go back to the bottom of the list. So I sat on the plastic chairs in A&E, attached to a drip, just waiting. In and out of fever dreams, just watching people come, go. Finally got a bed, and I was there for 7 days. I was the Costa Rica girl, mystery girl. Nobody knew what was wrong with me.
They're trying to find out what this tropical disease was.
Yeah, visited by microbiologists, people coming out from the labs. Were you anywhere near bats whilst you were at? Like, just every question going. Bloods after bloods after bloods, blood cultures, like 3 or 4 times a day they were taking my blood. It was ridiculous. I was losing weight rapidly. 1, because hospital food really is as bad as people say, and 2, I had no appetite. I've still got this fever. My fever did not drop the entire time. So I was there for a week, got to the Sunday, and I remember these 4 doctors talking over me, and a junior doctor turned to his boss, whatever, senior, and said, "Do you think we should do a CT scan?" And he said, "Wouldn't hurt. Yeah, why not? Send her down for one." So I've got a friend who's a radiographer. So I text her and said, why are they doing a CT scan? She said, "Don't worry about it. It's good. They're looking for like internal inflammation or whatever. Kind of surprised you're not getting it till day 7, but don't worry about it. It's really routine." And then that Sunday night, I had 2 friends visiting me. I will always thank my stars that they were with me. And this doctor appears at my bed. Then he says, "We know what's wrong with you. We've got your CT scan results." And I'm cracking jokes. I was like, "Go on then. What is it? What did I catch?" And he said,
Why are you cracking jokes?
It was a defense mechanism by then. It was a protection mechanism.
Because you heard it all before. You mean, like,
like, this is fucking hilarious. Nobody knows what the fuck's wrong with me. Who cares? Go on. What's wrong with me? What did I do? And he said, "You have a 6 to 7 centimeter infected ovarian cyst that has started to ooze, split, and is poisoning your entire body." And I just went, "So it wasn't Costa Rica's fault?" And he was like, "No."
And this had nothing to do
absolutely
with Costa
nothing
Rica.
to do with the trip whatsoever. The air pressure may have made it start to ooze, but I'm so glad you're filming this. I then said to him, "So has it burst?" And no word of a lie, and my friends remember him doing this. He went, "No." He said, "If it had burst, you'd have known. We'd have been talking sepsis." And that, he literally went like that.
As if you'd be dead.
Yeah. And I was like, right, okay.
Should we get it sorted before it bursts?
And he starts talking about, "Don't worry, gynae are going to be along soon. They're going to talk to you about fertility." And I'm like, "Sorry, what?"
Wow. And this massive U-turn suddenly.
Hugely. All of a sudden, I find out that this thing has been with me the entire time for fucking months. So the TMI part of this conversation is that
TMI is
too much information.
Okay, thank you.
For 18 months up till my holiday, I had been to the doctors for three times to complain about gynae something. Something wasn't right. Every time I got fobbed off, to the point where if you look at my NHS notes, the last appointment I went to was at the end of October. This all happened in January, February. At the end of October, the doctor literally wrote, "Patient has agreed," which pissed me off because you can't agree with a doctor. You just do as you're told. "Patient has agreed. We're going to wait and see." And 2 months later, I was rushed into hospital. So I had to have surgery, had emergency surgery. They drained the cyst. Unfortunately, it had gone on for so long that the cyst had started to infect my poor little appendix. So they whipped that out as well. Surgery was supposed to be 30 minutes, turned into 3 hours. And then I went home. I had to stay with my parents for 2 weeks to recover. I've never been so weak in my entire life. I lost 18 pounds in 4 weeks. I couldn't eat anything. I had to sleep on the sofa because I couldn't lie down. I wasn't discharged with great instructions. So I got given the most awful antibiotics, which I had to take for 14 days. And I was literally like, at the end of the first week, I voice noted a friend of mine who's a doctor, and I was literally begging her to tell me that I could stop taking them. And she was like, "I'm Meg as your friend. I want to tell you to like just put them down the loo." as a doctor, you must finish this course of antibiotics, but tell me what you're on. So I told her what I was on, and she was like, you shouldn't be taking them together at all. They're ruining your insides. So had to start spreading them out. I was on omeprazole, which is like a heart, stops like reflux and all that kind of stuff. I was on anti-sickness tablets. Like, it was awful. So yeah, in the end, I had a fever for 19 days. I didn't have one good night's sleep for about 5 weeks, lost a shitload of weight, lost some organs. The spookiest part of that at the start of the year was that before I went to Costa Rica, I remember having a conversation with my mum and saying, there's something on the other side of Costa Rica. Something's going to happen. Like, I just know. And I remember my mum being like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just go enjoy your holiday. And I was like, nah, there's something in this trip. I know there is. In my head, I'm going to go learn how to be like a fucking novel author or whatever. I'm going to be the most incredible writer there ever was ever. I'm going to meet all these amazing people. I'm on a solo trip. Yeah, I was single at the time.
Again, this vision of what you hope this trip will look like.
Yeah. And it was just fucking obliterated. I was supposed to go on a ski holiday. That got cancelled. I couldn't work. My wonderful, beautiful assistant was cancelling call after call after call. I love working for myself. I love being self-employed. I couldn't bring myself to open my laptop. It was the weirdest feeling of just like, I obviously don't feel like this now, but at the time, I remember thinking that business could burn to the ground tomorrow and I don't care. I cared about nothing. I fully feel from that experience that I now know what it is to be a shell of yourself. I have seen that. I have seen what it is. I do not do well in hospitals. And I know you could say nobody does, but I was an absolute mess. Now, this is what brings me to the joy. Because despite everything I've just told you, there was some gorgeous, joyful moments. Every woman on that retreat who has just met me, I'm a fucking stranger to them. Every woman on that retreat cared about my well-being. Nobody gave a shit that our retreat leader is having to take me to hospital, that she's having to come check on me, that we're having to change. None of them cared. Every single woman was just like, just want Meg to be okay. Still checking with me now, right? In the hospital, it must be kind of like what prison's like, right? You're on a ward with or in a room with maybe 4 or 5 other women. We became like best mates, right? We're bitching about the nurses. We're bitching about the food. We're having a little gossip. We're exchanging books. Have you watched this on iPlayer? Like, do you want me to get the nurse? Like, do you want your medicine? Are you okay? Do you want some pain relief? Like, yeah, your friends and family can visit you, but they're not fucking there with you at 3 a.m. when the poor lady in the bed next to me who's got really bad dementia is screaming her fucking head off, and us 4 are trying to like calm her down. Like, you're in it together. And, I was in bed next to a really lovely lady who, the joyfulness of her showing me pictures of her great grandkids. She's been in hospital for 3 months. And she's proud as punch about a great grandkid who just won at sports day or, whatever it is. Being back at my parents and being looked after by them and thinking, God, is this what it was like? Oh, this reminds me when I was ill when I was a little kid, and the joy in, oh, thank God my parents are close by. Again, the perfect test of my ethos and my belief in joy as your foundation, joy as your strategy, not the reward. That's what got me through all of this. It wasn't I need to get better and then I'm allowed to feel joy again. It was, no, I'm gonna rinse this. I'm gonna squeeze any joy out of any part that I could. And I came out of it and felt very different about my business. I've made some big changes in my business, made some big changes in my health and fitness. I met somebody. That's really weird. We probably wouldn't have met if none of this had happened. How do you reckon with that kind of thing? So
I'm curious how.
How
well,
would we
I'm
not
just
have
curious.
met?
What brought that to?
It's funny because I know you followed my journey last year. So I wrote an article on my Instagram about how I deleted dating apps and would never go them ever again and thought they were the worst thing ever. And I'm supposed to go on this ski holiday. I can't go. The girls are going to go out without me. I was sat on my sofa, feeling very sorry for myself and thinking about the year ahead and what I wanted to change and what wanted to be different. And this thought came into my head, and I had not been thinking about this at all. I hadn't dated in 8 months. This thought came into my head. I want to meet somebody this year. This is going to be the year I meet somebody. And anybody who knows, living in the Lake District, even Cumbria, it's really fucking hard to meet anybody.
The dating pool is quite sparse, right?
Yeah. And I remember, I'm not downloading the app. I'm not downloading the app. No, not doing that. I've said I'm not, so I'm not going to. And then I started going through it. What is that thought protecting you from not downloading it? Well, really, I just don't want the story to be that how I met somebody was through a dating app. Okay, why? Well, because I've just decided that I'm going to meet somebody differently. Okay, have you so far? No. Are you saying that it's bad to meet somebody through a dating app? No. My sister's married, dating app, loads of friends married, dating apps. So that reckoning, I went back and read the article that I read last year, and I was like, I get where I was at, but what if I came to it differently? What would be different? And I was like, okay, I'm going to be really honest with what I want. I'm going to be really upfront. If it puts somebody off, I don't give a shit. One more time, I'm going to download that fucking Hinge app and let's just see what happens. The girls are off skiing. I'm not skiing. What else is there to do tonight? I've binged Bridgerton. I've watched Stranger Things. Fuck it. Let's download Hinge. So I downloaded it. My now partner, he was the first profile that came up. And I remember going, no, putting it down. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Maybe he'll like one of my photos. Picked it back up, same profile. No, I'm not doing it. And then third time I was like, right, fuck it. I'm just going to like the photo of him and his dog. And the rest is history.
Good for you. Good for you. Well done.
Yeah.
I love that you had this life coaching session with yourself.
100% had to happen. And I am now with a fucking coach. He is a coach as well. So you can imagine how that goes. But yeah, it was absolutely... I would have been away skiing. I'd have been out with my girls. I can't say like we never would have met. But where my time in life where we have met, when I have been very vulnerable and very open to fuck it, come at me life kind of thing, is when he stepped into it.
Amazing. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Because I think there's the humility to be like, oh, the dating apps again. Mm-hmm. I relate to it. And let me share my story.
Go on.
As soon as I came out of my long-term relationship, I spent like maybe the first month just being like sad, lonely and depressed and like disconnected. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fuck it. There's this thing, these apps now that are here. That's how everyone's dating, right?
Because you would have missed the whole
thing.
Got it.
I missed all of adult dating.
Yeah.
I met at uni.
Okay.
And anything before then was not really. It was just daft teenage stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to, first of all, jumped on the apps, but then had to go through a journey of learning how to date. Because that's a journey itself.
Yeah, I had to do the same.
And I'm so glad I went on that journey quite immediately, because that preps you then to like understand. And after 6 months of being on a few apps, I went full in on it. Mm-hmm. I was meeting several people a week sometimes, at its peak.
Yeah.
Because it is just a numbers game.
Yeah.
You meet someone, you realize that you're meeting a complete stranger that you have no like chemistry with, and you have to try and find that chemistry in that moment. Yeah. Whereas it's the opposite of when you meet someone in real life, where you have that chemistry first and then you take that step to something more romantic. Here you're just like, oh, just because we fancied each other on a digital profile, we now have to try and
100%
form a marriage together. It's a horrible way to work. And you've opened a really big box here, because I was listening to Rich Roll's recent podcast, and he was talking about this guy was on about how in life there are complicated problems and complex problems. And And a complicated problem is like, how do I do my washing, but without having to do my washing? Oh, and someone will say, I can fix that complicated problem by making a complicated device called a washing machine.
Yeah.
Complicated problem fixed with a complicated solution. But then there are complex problems, which is a bit like a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And what the world is trying to do, they're trying to take a complex problem, but fix it with a complicated solution.
Yeah.
And the complicated solution is an app, let's say. It's like, oh, it's complicated, but it's not impossible. I can formulate all these algorithms, and here you go. Here is this complicated solution to this complex problem. But it's like, no, that doesn't fix the complex problem. And the complex problem needs to be fixed with more nuances, more than just like you having this app. And I learned that quite early on, is that, yes, it's a really good resource for connecting you. And it's great that you can find these other souls, but that is not the everything.
Yeah, 100%.
And after 6 months, I realized I went on a load of first dates, a few second dates, and not many third dates. And then I was a bit like, hang on, I'm investing a lot of time in this. What is this journey looking like now that I've been on it?
Yeah.
And I took the big step as well after 6 months, say, you know what, fuck it. This is wasting my time. And it's taking energy away from myself and building myself to be an incredible person that I know I can be. I want to work on myself.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I started working on this podcast. That's an idea I had, and I started working on it. And then it was amazing, because then I had all this time to dedicate to something that was productive in a way that was benefiting me.
Oh my God. Like I did that when I lived in Wales, and like it becomes its own little job, to be honest. And yeah, I had to really reckon and check in with myself of if somebody doesn't match with you, or how quickly can we get on a date, and all that kind of stuff. And you do have to take a really good look at yourself. Like, what is the purpose? What are you saying needs to come out of this? And what are you saying if it doesn't come out of it? What does that now mean about you? It's coming back to what we said earlier about like being on your own and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to write about it at some point, because I did take a really strong stance on it last year. And I then have kind of broken what I said I was going to do. But because of what has then come out of that, I am still very curious and trying to work out like where I was at. What is it about this time that was different? And I do think we decided to meet up quite quickly. We got into quite deep conversations quite quickly as well. There was not a lot of surface level, and that might be because of the work that we both do, that we feel very comfortable, having those kind of conversations. But for me, I think dating apps have got worse, the paywalls on them and all that kind of stuff. But to your point of, it is a complicated, or it's trying to simplify, what have you. I don't know, maybe there is something about they're not going anywhere, but can we make sure we have to bring some self-awareness to, if you are engaging in them and you are using them, you bring the human, right? You bring it scared the shit out of him, but I very quickly voice noted. I want you to hear my voice. I don't want you to just read my words. Let's meet up. Let's just go for a walk. It doesn't have to be this big thing. You'll see there's a big movement around women, unfortunately, asking for like these big, wine and dine me on the first date. Don't ask me on a coffee date. Fucking, I was more than happy. Let's go for a walk. I think we need a
pre-date.
Yeah.
I need to suss you out first.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember a long time ago reading something that said the only reason you go on a first date is to decide whether you want to go on a second date. And that's it. But we do put so much pressure on that first date if you've met through an app, because you've built up in your head who you think this person's going to be. And then when you meet them and they inevitably don't meet that because that's your imagination, we start to question it. So yeah, I don't know, open-mindedness, or just after everything that had just happened, maybe I was just like, whatever kind of thing. But kind of worked.
Well, I thank you for sharing that your own story, and I shared mine because I went back on the apps in the last couple of months. I suppose various things have happened in my life in the last perhaps year that meant that my connection to communities and my kind of day-to-day kind of socializing is kind of diminished a little bit.
Right.
It's a little bit harder for me to fit in. And now this year I'm spending so much of my time cycling. Don't have that kind of space to at least kind of, it's not necessarily I'm using those spaces to find romantic connections, but it's just you're finding connections.
Yeah.
And you're always, I suppose, when you're single, working out curiosity.
Yeah.
You know, where's the energy?
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for years, and I love that form of like finding romance.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very beautiful because you learn not to waste your energy on someone who doesn't give the energy back to you, right? And I think I've been very good with that over the years. And it's quite a playful and, I suppose, something about it that what's the word? When you never know what life will throw at you and what's just around the corner and who you might meet and what they might bring to you. And I still subscribe to that form of meeting people by just getting out of the house.
Yeah.
And just doing things.
Yeah.
Doing things that you enjoy. And that's beautiful. But I suppose having a door open to another form of connection, not giving it my all, and just saying, actually, now my relationship to it has changed.
Yeah.
And now this is a side quest project of mine to say, great, I might meet someone once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And to see.
Yeah.
And I know statistically it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'll allow that door to be open just so I've got a pool of people that might have an interest in me.
Yeah.
So I suppose I wish I'd had that relationship when I first started.
Yeah.
I suppose. And I think maybe that's something you have to learn that.
I was about to say, I think maybe you do have to, it's something that is learned. I know for some people they will just come off it and go, nah, doesn't work for me. And that's absolutely fine. But I definitely know that when I, re-downloaded it a couple of months ago, I definitely felt very different about it than I ever had before. And maybe that was because of what happened in Costa Rica, I don't know, or whether it was just taking a break, giving yourself a break from it as well. But I do remember being like, one more time, just see, who cares? Don't put so much pressure on this. You already have a really lovely life. Like, you got a gorgeous life. Somebody would be really lucky to be part of that life. And that kind of alleviated it a little bit for me and has brought me what I've got now.
It's a beautiful sentiment. I'll try and take that into my own life. I certainly agree. And if someone doesn't want to be part of your life in that way, because you do explore things with people and you might not want something with them, but also equally they might not want with you. I suppose it's always having that respect to be like, okay, I'll move that energy somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to be bitter about it, not to be resentful, not to be hung up on a version of a life which you thought you might have with someone else.
Yeah.
And I think I'm quite good with that, even though it kind of comes with its own kind of emotional turmoil, I suppose, over time. Yeah,
my mum always says people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Beautiful. I'm just going to close, I suppose, with my own little dating mantra at the moment. I'm in a go fuck it era of my dating, which I love, and I feel like I also have arrived at a place where I want to date intentionally, and I know what that looks like, and I know what that feels like, and perhaps the experience of the last 4 years has helped me kind of bring that in. So I'm excited for this like next chapter because I've proven over the time that I don't waste anyone's time, especially my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful part in dating. So you have to make sure that you're upfront.
Yeah.
And when you maybe realize it's not the path you want to go on, you strike that chord straight away.
100%.
Have the conversation. But I'm also in a go fuck it era where I'm like, going to slide into your DMs.
Nice.
I don't give a shit.
I love that.
And if you don't want to respond, it's fine. Slide in someone else's DMs.
Yeah.
And that's where I am.
I did both of those. I literally did both of those. He will tell you I was absolutely cutthroat. This is what I'm looking for. And I remember being so scared to say that. And he has since said how much he respected that. That was a big thing for him. The fact that he was like, shit, she knows what she wants. Okay. But I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was just laying it on. I was just asking the questions. For me, it was from curiosity. From him, he was like, you were asking some deep shit. But it's something about just being completely unapologetically yourself, and somebody will dig that. So literally somebody will dig that. Like somebody will be so into that. And the flip of that is if you are not yourself and somebody likes that, there is only so long that you can remain in that version of you before you can't do it anymore, or you get found out, or what have you. So there's never been more of a reason to just be yourself. And it sounds so cheesy, and I know it's coming from somebody who is now in a relationship, but literally they will find you. It will happen. And I'm completely on board with that statement now. As cheesy as it is, I'm like, nope, proved it. It's happening. Did the experiment. It worked.
How will Meg go forward taking in this kind of independence into this very independent relationship?
Yeah. So we've talked about that as I am learning interdependence now, which is not a word I'm massively familiar with. And like I said, it's being aware of those two people, those two different versions of my independence. So the adventurous one, the curious one, if I want to take myself for a coffee, I can, that kind of thing. And being aware of where this other independent part of me comes in that holds back from asking for what I need, or doesn't believe they can ask for help, or says, well, I just need to sort through this myself, rather than kind of being like, well, there's somebody else who's kind of happy to get involved with you now. So it's those things. It's questioning if that need or urge to be independent steps in, where is it coming from? Is it coming from the most natural, foundational, hippie, version, happy-go-lucky version of me? Or is it coming from a place of fear, I guess, and muddling through it together as we go, and not needing to have all the answers. They'll come, hopefully.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Right.
And I thank you very much for honouring me with your time, but also inviting me into your beautiful home in Keswick. I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was enlightening for me as well. Like, you never know how much shit you'll come out with sometimes until you're on a podcast.
You've been brilliant. Really have. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to find out more information about any of the guests, please check out the show notes, where you'll also find links to things mentioned in the conversation. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please take a look through the past recordings. There's so many more incredible stories for you to find, and I can't wait for you to enjoy them. Thank you.